The top 4 inflammatory foods that will quickly help you with weight loss. Number 1 is gluten, not eating it, eliminating it, right? So these are very inflammatory foods that we've got to eliminate from our diet. So gluten, dairy, yes, I said dairy, soy, and corn. Okay, gluten, dairy, soy, and corn. Those are the top 4 inflammatory foods that are in our diet that is keeping you from losing weight. So let's talk about gluten. All right, so what is all this stuff about gluten? It's such a fad. What's the big deal? And oh, Dr. Heather, I already tried going gluten-free. It did not help me at all. I did not feel any different. I did not lose any weight. If anything, I gained weight. So let's talk about how to do this the right way. So what is up with gluten? Gluten is a protein that is found in wheat pasta, bread, pastries, flour, barley, rye, beer, malt. It can be hidden in soups, sauces, salad dressing, seasonings, spices, and that's just to name a few. All right. Gluten can cause or contribute to all of these different symptoms that you may be having. Depression and anxiety, arthritis, inflammation, autoimmunity, migraines, rashes, celiac disease, diabetes, diarrhea, constipation, bloating, weight gain, fatigue, joint and muscle pain, neuropathy, and brain fog. Oh my God, does that sound like almost every patient that I talk to that I was about to say that walks into my office, but now that virtually shows up to my office? Look at all these things that can be caused or can contribute to eating gluten. So these things this is very serious. Now, gluten also creates autoimmune issues. There are gluten immune complexes. So this is really important because I told you that if you have low thyroid, about 90% of us, I've seen up to 98% of us actually have an underlying autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's, where the immune system is slowly attacking the thyroid. It's more than likely also attacking your brain, specifically the cerebellum. But gluten immune complexes, when we eat gluten and we have an autoimmune condition, it can attack the brain, the skin, right? So for those of you who have rashes, the gut, and the cardiovascular system. And I would say the nervous system is the most affected. And there is something that's called molecular mimicry, right? So the molecule of gluten looks very similar to the molecule of the thyroid and to the brain. And so when we eat gluten, it stimulates the immune system, not only to attack the gluten, but the thyroid and the brain. So it's really, really important to get this out of your diet. Now, there's over 100 different autoimmune diseases related to gluten. 17% of Americans have celiac disease, and it is suspected that 100% of Americans have a gluten sensitivity. So, Dr. Heather, I've gone gluten-free. Now, I might get gluten from time to time, or if it's in front of me, it's really hard for me to give gluten up completely. But for the most part, I am totally gluten-free, but it did not make a difference. Well, guess what? The reason it didn't make a difference is because when you eat gluten, even a little bite of gluten, those antibodies stay circulating for up to 90 days. And so it's like you can start getting somewhere, you get gluten, you're back at square one. You get somewhere, you stay away from it, you get gluten, you're back to square one, right? So it's really, really important that we understand that when we eat gluten, that it will stay circulating for up to 90 days. So even a little bit of gluten is harmful. So people will say, oh, just a little bit won't hurt you. And I say a little bit does hurt you. I want you to understand that gluten sensitivity can primarily and at times can be exclusively a neurological disease. Did you guys hear that? So all that brain fog you have, maybe even the cognitive decline that you have, the fuzzy thinking that you have, it could be an autoimmune issue related to gluten sensitivity. Now, Dr. Heather, I went gluten-free. And I was really careful. I went completely gluten-free. I went to the store and I started getting all of these other gluten-free products. I did not ingest any gluten, but I replaced the gluten with all of this other gluten-free stuff. And this is why you did not lose weight. And this is why you did not feel better. So this is how to not do gluten-free. All right. So these products are packed full of sugar. And the grains that they're using rice, they're using potato starch, they're using corn starch, they're using all kinds of things that raise your blood sugar. And so many times when people go gluten-free, they are really wanting all of this weight to fall off, but they just raise their blood sugar and increase their insulin resistance and started storing fat like crazy and actually gained weight and felt worse. So they're like, definitely, I'm not sensitive to gluten. Give me that gluten back. So you do have to be careful because these products do not help us. They do not help us start unwinding this inflammatory process that we're going on, that we have going on. And the other thing is that there's cross reactivity. So the immune system looks at similar molecules, right? So just like it looks at gluten and it may recognize it as the thyroid tissue or your cerebellum, it can look at any other grains and think that it's gluten also. So you can look at rice, it can look at corn, it can look at any of the other gluten-free grains, and it can be very detrimental. So in my opinion, it is more appropriate to go grain-free and not just gluten-free. That is what's going to really give you the best bang for your buck, actually give you the best results for the efforts that you're putting in.